André the Giant was only 46 years old when he died in his sleep while visiting France. His will revealed that he wanted to be cremated, but in a strange twist, his cremation posed the most shocking problem imaginable. Long before André became the massive star he grew into, his parents weren't ignorant of their son's magnitude. At the time of his birth on May 19, 1946, André René Roussimoff weighed 13 pounds and showed symptoms of gigantism as he got older, reaching a height of 6'3" in by the time he had turned 12. Although he was born in Coulommiers, France, his mother and father immigrated from Poland and Bulgaria. Soon enough, he had a big decision to make. Some of the most famous entertainers in history could tell you they wanted to perform from an early age, usually starring in various school productions, but not André. In fact, he didn't stay in school long at all. At 14 years old, he had reached the age where school was no longer mandatory and chose to work as a farmhand instead of pursuing further education. Of course, it wouldn't be long until even this career path changed. By the time André turned 18, he discovered he could use his extraordinary appearance to his advantage. Relocating to Paris, he entered the world of professional wrestling, training under promoter Robert Leger. Both realized that André's unique physicality had the potential to turn him into a beloved wrestling icon and rake in a lot of money. Finally, he made his debut. Initially wrestling under the stage name of Giant Foray, inspired by a folk hero from northern France, André soon rose above his local matches. In 1966, he fought against the wrestler Le Petit Prince in both wrestlers' first television appearance, which was broadcast on French national television. However, he didn't stay only in France. 2 years after his television debut, André kept climbing up the ladder and won the FFCP World Heavyweight Championship. Afterward, he began travelling throughout Europe and eventually the world, appearing on a UK wrestling program and following it up with matches in Germany, Africa, and even New Zealand. Following this, he found another country where he would spend much of his career. Under the name Monster Roussimoff, André moved to Japan's wrestling world, beginning his long history in the country in his 1970 debut with the International Wrestling Enterprise. This relocation was bittersweet, however, as doctors in Japan diagnosed him with acromegaly, a growth disorder that had resulted in his gigantism. Soon, he found even more success on another continent. André made himself a wrestling icon throughout much of the world, but in 1971, he expanded that fame to North America. Moving to Montreal, Canada, he had no trouble gaining the type of popularity he had previously drawn, often selling out seats for his matches at the Montreal Forum. In the early 1970s, the world of wrestling gave André something other than fame and glory: a chance to build a family. Around this time, he met Gene Christensen through his career, and the two hit it off. By the decade's end, they welcomed their first and only child, Robin Christensen Roussimoff. In 1973, André got a second opportunity to become an icon when he spoke with the Worldwide Wrestling Federation's founder, Vincent J. McMahon. Hired as André's agent, McMahon made a plan to rebuild the wrestler's popularity, which focused on moving him around so that his novelty wouldn't become oversaturated in any given area. This led to him finding his true identity, but it took quite a few changes to get there. As another part of Vincent J. McMahon's efforts as Andre's agent, rather than decrease the focus on his distinct size, they decided to go all in on it. From then on, he took on the mantle of Andre the Giant, a character that he embodied by using less light-footed maneuvers to make himself seem more imposing and impossible to move. Finally, the WWF introduced Andre the Giant as its new wrestler on March 24th, 1973. Following his first match against Frank Valois and Bull Permetti, which he won, the fans quickly grew to love him, especially after his victory against Buddy Wolf 2 days later in Madison Square Garden. Of course, he soon found that wrestling wouldn't be his only love. Eventually, Andre's experience and passion for performance grew outside the wrestling industry. In the late 1960s, Andre appeared in the French film Chinese Puzzle for Judica and seemingly caught the acting bug. His acting then debuted in America in a 1976 episode of The $6 Million Man as a Sasquatch. However, this wasn't the last of it. While in the end, Andre's wrestling accomplishments far outweigh his acting ventures, he was still happy to take on several gigs. By the end of his career, along with his constant WWF television appearances, he would act in many TV series, such as The Greatest American Hero in 1983 and Zorro in 1991. Still, his wrestling career was about to get a major boost. In wrestling, everything is about the storyline a wrestler is a part of, and the character they play. And in 1980, Andre the Giant locked horns with fellow WWF superstar Hulk Hogan. In these initial matches, the storyline portrayed Andre as the hero, also known as the babyface character, and Hogan as the villain or heel. But his rivalries didn't stop there. Throughout the early 1980s, Andre feuded with another wrestler aptly named Big John Studd. The two would face off across the globe, each time trying to determine who was wrestling's true giant. The feud escalated when Big John Studd and his partner Ken Patera decided to cut Andre's hair after knocking him out in a match. Of course, Andre soon got his chance to show Studd up. Thanks to the very first WrestleMania on March 31st, 1985, Andre had the opportunity to get payback for his involuntary haircut. Engaging Big John Studd in a body slam challenge, Andre emerged victorious and won a grand total of $15,000, which he proceeded to throw to the audience until a manager stopped him. But this wouldn't be his last WrestleMania. The next year, Andre emerged from WrestleMania 2 with his reputation and honor intact. But he hadn't faced just one or two people at a time. On April 7th, 1986, he entered the ring with several other wrestlers and NFL players to make up a 20-man battle royale. The match ended when Andre eliminated Bret Hart, winning the fight. It was a breathtaking victory. But Andre really needed a bit of a break for a worrisome reason. Unfortunately for Andre, wrestling was beginning to affect him more personally in the wake of WrestleMania 2. He found that his acromegaly was getting worse, which led to more and more pain in the ring. So he asked to take a leave of absence. The WWF had to give a reason why Andre was missing from matches, so they involved his current feud with Big John Studd along with the wrestler King Kong Bundy. Studd's manager Bobby Heenan had challenged Andre to a tag team match against them, but when he didn't appear, WWF President Jack Tunney took extreme action. He suspended Andre for the foreseeable future. Still, he had to return to work sometime. After recuperating from his health issues, Andre returned to the US and decided to get back into the swing of things. Unfortunately, he was still suspended. So, donning a mask, he re-entered the ring under the name Giant Machine. Although it was obvious who was under the disguise, announcers played along and pretended not to know. And later in 1986, the WWF reinstated André. Soon enough, he returned to an old rival of his. Toward the end of the 1980s, André returned to his most iconic feud against Hulk Hogan, with a new twist. While they had started out with the latter being the villain against André's hero, Hogan had since become known as a babyface in wrestling. So, André took on his new role of heel. To engage in this new feud with Hogan, André enlisted the help of his former rival and villain, Bobby Heenan. During a scheduled discussion on February 7th, 1987, between André and Hogan, Heenan started throwing accusations at their opponent. He theorized that the only reason Hogan had been so chummy with André before was so that he didn't have to fight him. To his credit, Hogan tried to de-escalate the situation. Maintaining his babyface reputation, Hogan did everything to prevent a fight between him and André. Eventually, the Giant challenged Hogan for his title, goading him into a match for WrestleMania 3. Hogan stood shocked. Rivalries and challenges weren't uncommon in wrestling, but Hogan remained stunned and in disbelief. Once again, Heenan got in the middle of it and said, "You can't believe it? Maybe you'll believe this, Hogan." This prompted André to tear his opponent's clothes and crucifix from his chest, cutting him in the process. Despite all his talk, André wasn't doing as well as he may have seemed. By this time, André had reached around 7 foot 4 inches and 520 pounds, which, due to his poor health, wasn't doing him any favours. The constant strain on his joints as they propped up his immense size was horribly painful, and leading up to WrestleMania 3, he required back surgery. This meant that while wrestling, he needed to wear a back brace. Finally, his feud came to a head. Likely due to André's diminished health and weakened joints, he didn't do so well by the time his match with Hulk Hogan came around. In 1987's WrestleMania 3, Hogan claimed victory by hitting André with an unforgettable body slam. But that wasn't his only punishing move. He also delivered a running leg drop finisher. Quite infamously, that body slam would earn a shocking reputation as the body slam heard around the world. However, André got his chance at revenge the very next year. During the following year's WrestleMania 4 on March 27th, André got back on the horse and took his opportunity to deliver Hogan some payback. Unfortunately, this didn't work out much better than the previous event, and the match ended in a double disqualification for both men. Following this, Hogan won a steel cage match against André, and their rivalry fizzled out. Professionally, he had no problems staying relevant. André had become an icon all to himself. But in 1989, he took to the ring in partnership with fellow wrestler Haku to form their new tag team, the Colossal Connection. André was getting older, and by creating this team with another wrestler from the Heenan family, he could maintain his relevancy. Fortunately, they did fairly well. As the Colossal Connection was a new team on the scene, they had to make a name for themselves quickly. So they aimed for the top, challenging Demolition, who were the reigning WWF Tag Team Champions. André and Haku faced off against the team on December 13th, 1989. The Colossal Connection won the match and their new titles. However, this streak wouldn't last. For several months, the Colossal Connection remained the undefeated Tag Team Champions, but not for much longer. Soon, WrestleMania 6 came along on April 1st, 1990, during which the team battled against Demolition once again. In a poor turn of events, a poorly executed move on behalf of the Colossal Connection cost them the match and their titles. Someone took the loss a little too hard. André and Haku were likely disappointed following their defeat, but Bobby Heenan seemed to be the most upset of all. Berating them for letting Demolition win, he smacked André in the face, forcing the wrestler's normally jovial demeanor to disappear. In response, André smacked Heenan back, sending him reeling. Behind the scenes, André wasn't getting any better. By the time WrestleMania 6 arrived, André's condition had deteriorated so much that he couldn't participate fully. While the Colossal Connection had entered the ring against Demolition, Haku ended up fighting the whole match without tagging André in, so the wrestler wouldn't exert himself too much. Still, he wasn't at the end of his career yet. Eventually, André's health became so poor that he couldn't continue as an active member of the WWF. However, he wasn't about to go out with a whimper, making his last match a 17-man Battle Royale on May 11, 1991. While he may not have won this final event, he certainly made it one to remember. Even though he wasn't fighting after this, the audience hadn't seen the last of him. 5 months after his final WWF match, André was present at a house show on October 9th in Paris, France. There, he didn't step into the ring as a wrestler, but stood on crutches in Davey Boy Smith's corner as he took on Earthquake. This proved beneficial to Smith, who used one of André's crutches to deliver a hit to Earthquake. One thing was certain, André sure knew how to celebrate. While it likely contributed to his failing health, many have said that André's excessive drinking helped him deal with his pain. The problem was that since he was so large, he could really throw them back. Wrestler Mike Graham stated that André once drank 156 470ml beers in one go, which amounted to around 19.5 gallons. Shortly after his final appearance, however, his time was up. Sadly, André the Giant's life would come to an end while visiting France one more time in 1993. During his visit to Montréal, he took time to meet with some dear friends, playing card games with them on January 27th. After returning to his hotel room for the night, he reportedly suffered a heart attack in his sleep before passing the following day. It was his chauffeur and some hotel employees who tragically discovered the beloved wrestler's body on January 28th. However, few know another tragic detail about the circumstances surrounding his demise. You see, André had been in France for a very sad reason. He'd lost his father and had made the trip so that he could attend the funeral. Though it was a time for him to come together with his family, his loss would prove to be another devastating blow to those closest to him. And when it came to his remains, there was a major problem. In life, André knew that he wanted to be cremated and put his wishes in his will. Unfortunately, his size posed a major issue in France. They simply didn't have a crematorium large enough to accommodate his body. Therefore, his remains had to be shipped back to America so that his wishes could be properly fulfilled. His ashes were eventually released in North Carolina, where he owned a ranch. Though André passed at the young age of 46, his memory would never die. During his life, André the Giant met thousands of people who worked with him, idolized him, or simply counted him as a friend. He left a lasting impact on each person, and although he saw his daughter Robin less and less over the years, the two still maintained a connection until his passing. Since then, she has spoken publicly about how she wished they had a closer relationship, and has made it her business to keep his legacy alive. If you enjoyed this Fact and Ain't video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more incredible stories. Want a say in who we cover next? Join our membership program through the link in the description for exclusive perks. Your support means everything to us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.